Hey everyone, and happy end of June, and many happy returns on the day. Please let me tell you the books that I read in June and what I think about them. Please, I'll do it right now. Thank you. The first book that I read in the month of June was called The Sympathizer by Viet Thanh Nguyen. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I did try to look it up. But folks, this book is good. Apparently it won the Pulitzer Prize. I don't know what that means, but I'll tell you this. The book is freaking amazing. What happened was I watched episode 1 of the HBO show version of The Sympathizer, and I thought that was awesome, and then the credits rolled and it said based on this book, and I was like, hold up. We got a book on our hands. Started reading, got sucked into it like the book was a vacuum and my face was dirt on the carpet. I was just in there. What is The Sympathizer? We're talking about the Vietnam War, and the book is written from the perspective of a communist spy who goes to the US after the fall of Saigon to the freaking commies. Let's go. I am a sympathizer as well, you could say. I feel like in past videos, I have emphasized that I've just read the greatest book of all time and nobody has really cared. So I'm just gonna emphasize here extra hard. The Sympathizer is the best book of all time and you need to read it. Don't make an excuse. Don't leave a generic comment. Leave a comment saying, Brandon Kirk Huang, I am going to read The Sympathizer today or tomorrow. There is a description of napalm and its effects on the human body and skin that was the most horrific thing I've ever read. So know that there are going to be, of course, some horrors of war type situations going on there, but it needs to be read, okay? Because people actually did get napalmed. You know what I mean? And that's what's crazy to think about. And then to think about how war is still going on to this day. And now I'm depressed. Thank you, Brandon, for doing that. When I finished The Sympathizer, I went right into Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation Novel Volume 2 by the author Mo Xiang Tong Xue. I'm trying. I am trying. I apologize if I'm wrong. Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation is the series that was recommended vehemently by my own sisters. And reading Volume 2, I have to tell you something, which is that this series is shaping up to be the best book series of all time. And I do think that Volume 2 of Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation is the best book I've ever read. It is the greatest book of all time, and you need to read it right away. June was the month of all killer, no filler for me. All these books are freaking bangers, basically. But you should read Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. If you don't believe me, if you think, Brandon, you're lying about Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, no. Why would you think that? What would give you the impression that I would lie about something like this? Here's my one gripe with the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation series. I need them to put out like a fancy binding version of it, because the binding on these books, you're getting like anime manga vibes from these kind of cartoon gorgeous boys. You know how they put out all those cool looking versions of Lord of the Rings or something? Can we get that for Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation? Can we get a binding for this book that makes it look like it's an ancient classic tome on the same level as like whatever the most ancient classic tomes are? Because these books are really, really gorgeous. That said, don't fall prey to consumerism, as I just said in a video recently. And the next book that I read is called The Committed by, guess who? Viet Thanh Nguyen. This is the sequel to The Sympathizer. You read The Sympathizer and you think, what a well-contained story. I feel like any sequel to this is just going to be like a cash grab or something, because what more is there to say? But oh no, there's more to say. In The Sympathizer, you get a lot of criticism of the American sort of imperialism, capitalism, neocolonialism, and then you go to France in The Committed. My ear is ringing all of a sudden. This just in. A loud ringing in my right ear. It's fading. There we are, we're back. In The Committed, we go to France and we get some criticisms of France. The main draw for me is that the voice of our narrator is so engaging and captivating that I just wanted to know more. And I still kind of want to know more. I am torn with The Committed between feeling like it was the perfect ending and also feeling like it was the biggest letdown of an ending of all time. But I'm really happy with however way I end up feeling on that, because the book itself is just so incredibly engaging and everything makes sense. Even if you feel like the ending didn't go the way you wanted, or if you feel like the ending went exactly the way you wanted, even though you also feel like it didn't go exactly the way you wanted, you still feel like, okay, maybe I'm just a man with two brains and I can see things from both sides in this moment. If you read The Sympathizer, you would get that that was a reference to The Sympathizer. I would never actually slap you. That was for comedic effect. And I would also never explain a joke because that would ruin the joke. And also I apologize because bad jokes are meant to be apologized over. The next book that I read was, and you're not going to believe this, Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, Volume 3. I can't be stopped. And let me tell you something, if you thought Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation Volume 2 was the best book of all time, oh my goodness, you simply haven't read Volume 3 yet, because Volume 3 is the greatest of all time, actually. Here's what happens. You read Volume 2 to the ending, and it hits you with the fattest cliffhanger of all time. Then I get Volume 3, and I read Volume 3, and guess what? It ends on the most insane cliffhanger of all time. And now I'm sitting here begging for Volume 4 to manifest itself out of the vapors of life itself. And then the last book that I read this year was a short one called The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. This is a pretty decent book. It reminded me a lot of When Breath Becomes Air, which I read last year. I mean, even their covers look similar. The thing that I'll tell you is this is not as good as When Breath Becomes Air, but it's dealing with grief. It's dealing with loss. Sudden loss. It's a serious, very serious, heavy book. Reading the first few chapters, my heart would literally just start to hurt. And I don't know if it was like an empathy pain or just reading it was actively making me unhealthy. It's intense to process grief like that. My gosh. We need to acknowledge that the grief that we feel when we lose someone that we love is something that every single person on the planet is about to experience or has experienced or is experiencing. And it's a very, very daunting, dark, brutal thing that we all have to live through. I'm also currently reading a book called 52 Stories by Anton Chekhov. It is short stories. They're very short. They're very story. I read One Piece volumes up to volume 100. I only have a few volumes of One Piece left before I'm actually fully caught up with where the story is today. That was today! Today! Sorry, that was a movie reference that just possessed my soul. I do have a copy of The Black Prince by Iris Murdoch, which I'm going to be taking with me on my bicycle ride and reading on the way, so that I will be reading in July as well. The next videos that you see on this channel will be my travel vlogs from a massive bicycling trip, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure you subscribe and stick around for that. And that's all that I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for reading. How was your day? Good? Bad? Leave a comment, actually, because I can't hear you. I cannot hear you. As always, we sign off with a Free Palestine from the river to the sea. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.